Can you just expatiate on the big pharma point you made and talk about the relationship between big business, big pharma, and how that's impacting us, the people, and our health?
Well, I think a good example, though, is when people started to demand organic produce, then what happened was, and people realized they could make money providing that demand, you started seeing large-scale organic farmers going into production and feeding people like your Costco's and your major outlets. I think that's a healthy development. Because, again, I don't think the conspiracy is against health or vegetarianism or anything. It's for money. So, again, if we have good evidence that people are willing and are motivated to provide a demand for the products, I think the products will be provided.
If I said it once, I've said it hundreds of times. Everything in our society of any significance has everything to do with our health, or more specifically, our lack of health. It's not about money. Sure, money is the absolute tool of control. It's what's used to own and control every major sector of human endeavor so they can brainwash us. But health and everything related to health is the ultimate tool of control. Because we could not be controlled, we could not be ruled if we were healthy. There are no rulers in a healthy world. Everything in our society of any significance has everything to do with our health. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they are either ignorant or they're part of controlled opposition. Now, we have to understand the role our diet plays, and you have to understand that there's got to be a large percentage of people that are in that movement that are part of controlled opposition. Now we must ask ourselves, who are they? Well, I met this guy over 25 years ago, and he was trying to infiltrate the natural hygiene movement to encourage them to allow cooked food so they have more people. Instead of trying to figure out a better way to tell their message, they said, well, let's soft sell the message. Let's cover up the most important thing, and that is the fall of mankind. That is the cooking of the food. So it's interesting that this person I'm talking about has teamed up with someone else and they wrote a book, and the other guy is saying that cooking is what made our brains grow, which doesn't even make sense, because something happened to us, and we don't know for sure what did it. But we know that our brains nearly doubled in size about 2 million years ago. And that is what allowed us to do things we'd never done before. So there's a whole bunch of things we'd never done before, and we couldn't have done it without a bigger brain. And now we have some people saying, well, one of the things that you were able to do that you couldn't do before, you did something with it, and that's what made your brain grow. Doesn't even make sense. There's no logic behind it, but it's exactly what people want to hear, isn't it? People love to hear good news about their bad habits. So when someone comes along and says, oh, cooking's great, isn't that exactly what we want to hear? It's no different than what conventional medicine has been doing forever when you go to them. They tell you exactly what you want to hear, isn't it? It's not your fault. Keep doing what you're doing. It's a medical condition. It's an inappropriate signal. Diet has nothing to do with it. Just keep doing what you're doing. How long have we been told these lies by people who don't know the cause, but yet they know it's not the diet and they don't study the diet? It boggles my mind that we are so easily swayed one direction. But when you realize that virtually everything in our society revolves around the fall of mankind, our economy revolves around it, and our lifestyles, our traditions revolve around it. These are the reasons why it's so hard to break away from these traditions and these ways of life. Not to mention someone coming along and telling us what we want to hear. So if anyone is trying to tell you that there is no conspiracy about our health, they're lying. It isn't about the money. Again, money is the absolute tool of control, but it isn't about the money, it's about us being sick. Because if we were healthy, if we all had a minimal biophoton level, you know what would happen? No one would join what's known as a progerian class, and their whole house of cards falls apart because that's what they need. You see, we're sick. We got a bunch of sick people, and they take some of those sick people, the thugs, and they do their dirty work, and that's how they control us. So there's a very simple solution to get out of this dilemma, and it begins with the first of my three-step process. It's It's a solid food vacation. That's what allows us to get reconnected. That's what allows us to change our mentality. Because as long as we have the wrong mentality, things will never change. And things will never change unless we reach a tipping point. So it's time to get excited. It's time for you to play your role and tell everybody you know that there is a very simple solution. It begins with the first step, and I call it a solid food vacation. Check out my playlist down below in the description box. And when you guys can do this, you know you're in for a treat.